Roger, roger.
It's unfair.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey guys, how are you all doing today? So consider this one a part 2 to the popular video I made a few months back, which you all seem to like. So today we're going to be covering all the different lightsaber styles and hilts in canon. Now be sure you look out for the Legends video because that one has all the crazier hilts. But let's get on with the video. 1. Let's start with the regular. These are your standard lightsabers. They range all across the board, obviously from Jedi and Sith alike. Now what I want to point out is that usually the Sith hilts are darker colored in nature. This is just aesthetic, and personally, I like both. But if I had to pick one, it would be Vader's saber. His was built off his exact design from episode 2 when he was just still a Padawan. However, since he has cybernetic hands now, he had to upgrade his hilt to a thicker one. Users of this style of saber, which was the most generic of all, found it very easy to insert their crystal into the straight hilt. Some users of this saber were Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin Skywalker, and of course, Darth Sidious. 2. Next, we have the double-bladed lightsaber. Now, this was one of my favorites as a kid. The double-bladed saber was just as dangerous to the wielder as it was to the opponent. It took a true master of the Force and lightsaber combat to be able to wield this weapon without slicing off their own limbs. In Maul's double-bladed saber, he had 2 kyber crystals at each end of his hilt, which was actually just 2 hilts put together, operating on their own or in unison depending on who he was fighting and the proximity of the walls and objects around him. Users of this lightsaber were usually very acrobatic and very aggressive fighters. Notable users were Darth Maul, of course, Pong Krell, Savage Opress, and Bastila Shan from the Old Republic. Now, on a side note, Pong Krell's lightsaber was slightly different as they folded up, which was pretty cool. 3. Curved lightsabers. Now, these provided the user with a unique feel. These hilts were for real masters of dueling. Basically, when you saw someone pull one of these out, you were like, okay, this guy knows his stuff. The user would have to hold their saber more in their palm, and it would allow for more powerful strikes when attacking from above. The shape gave the hilt a slightly different angle to the saber, which would throw the enemy off to the slightest degree. Let's think about it. Jedi typically learn against straight hilts. Adding a curve to the hilt would throw them off just a little bit, coming at some different angles, and sometimes that was enough to win the duel. Another admirable thing about curved lightsaber hilts are that they require their user to carefully put their kyber crystal inside. Since it's now curved, this requires a greater deal of skill, which goes hand in hand with Dooku's ego. Here's a bonus fact for you. Ventress connects her 2 curved hilts to form an S-hilt, which Kenobi cuts right through in the Clone Wars. 4. Lightsaber Pike. These were reserved for the Jedi Temple Guards. The Lightsaber Pike was a lightsaber variant similar to the double-bladed lightsaber, featuring 2 rare yellow plasma blades on each side of the staff. Now, yellow crystals were typically for those who were very smart and studied a lot, and from what we've seen, they've been reserved only for Temple Guards. The Temple Guards were basically just Knights of the Jedi Order. They were sworn to protect the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. 5. Crossguard lightsaber. This one's more new, obviously with The Force Awakens and Rebels. However, funny enough, this is actually one of the most ancient designs for lightsabers. Now, there's a theory that Disney is using this for Kylo to symbolize his sword, just like in all Disney movies, as being the Dark Prince, who ends up saving the princess in the end, which we can assume is Rey. While that's just a theory, it does kind of make you think of a prince or a knight, but with a Star Wars twist, obviously. Kylo used this design as instructed to him by Snoke. The flickering of his lightsaber beam doesn't happen in all crossguard sabers, but it's kind of unknown to us at this point. However, I can only assume that he's using a cracked crystal. Whose crystal is it? Remains unknown, but wouldn't it be cool if it was part of Vader's actual crystal? Or maybe Luke's green one that he corrupted and made bleed. Ezra finds a crossguard saber on the Sith world of Malachor, which was a relic of an ancient battle. Now I hope we'll see more of this saber type and perhaps different ancient saber hilts like this. 6. Shoto saber. This is literally lightsaber number 1, pretty much, but it's just downsized for smaller Jedi or Sith. Particularly Yoda, Evan Peel, and Yaddle use this hilt. For them, this was kind of the normal standard size in comparison to Anakin and his saber, or Obi-Wan and his, for example. However, I'm sure you've seen combat veterans use one longer knife and one shorter knife in battle sometimes. Now, regular-sized warriors in Star Wars did the exact same thing, just with lightsabers. Like Ahsoka here, she uses one regular lightsaber and one Shoto. They were used by rare dual-wielding Jedi as an offhand lightsaber for close-quarter combat. 7. Next, we have the Lightsaber Cane. This one in particular was used by Master Terra Sinub and Maul somewhat in Rebels. This was just a lightsaber in their walking stick, basically. Yoda could have used one, and so could have Palpatine, but they didn't. They had their own. This made it quicker for the user to draw their weapon, as their cane was with them at all times. 8. Lightsaber Blaster Combo, invented by Ezra Bridger. This was a pretty cool weapon. Basically, you could use your blaster and your lightsaber at the same time in the same weapon. A bit clunky for my taste, but it had its uses. 9. The legendary Darksaber. This was an ancient and unique black-bladed lightsaber created by Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever in the Jedi Order. After he died, the weapon was kept in the Jedi Temple, but members of House of Vizsla stole the saber in a conflict with the Jedi during the fall of the Old Republic a long time ago. The Darksaber was passed down generation to generation by the ancestors of pre-Vizsla. It later fell into Darth Maul's possession once he killed Vizsla and took his throne. We later see it again in Rebels. 10. Inquisitor's Lightsaber. This weapon was basically two lightsabers on a spinning ring. They could partially detach from the cylindrical hand grip in the center, allowing it to spin like a cyclone. The point was to scare and intimidate opponents, as well as deflect oncoming attacks. It was based on an unused concept from the Force Unleashed game, and it proved to be popular in Rebels. However, the weaknesses of this weapon, especially when spinning, was if a user broke the emitter or severed the weapon in half, which is what Vader did in his first duel against the Inquisitor. Now, not part of Canons, part of Legends, here's one of my favorite lightsabers that I'll be going over in the Legends version of this video, the Light Whip. This is super cool. It's kind of like Indiana Jones meets Star Wars. I'll get more on that in the next episode, so I hope you all enjoyed the 10 lightsaber hilts mentioned here in Canon. If you guys know any more, comment them down below, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know which one is your favorite, and if you want, I can do that 10 list from Legends too. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you all in the next episode of Star Wars Theory. Have an awesome day, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends. Until then, remember,
The Force will be with you always.